Hi guys, TeaFairy story time. Like I said, I'm going to be doing a few videos today, but I don't think I'm going to post them all at once. I think I'm going to post them over the week. So, I just finished reading a book about the cabbage moon. And so I figured that I will read another book about vegetables. This one's called The Talking Turnip. And it is by Anne Rose, and Paul Galdone drew the pictures. Can you see the talking turnip? And this is a used book. See, it has the name Peterson in it. I bought it in a thrift shop. But it's kind of damaged. It's got some damage to it. But I like buying used books at thrift shops because thrift shops, at least in my area where I live, they often make money for local charities. And so when I buy a book at a thrift shop, excuse me, my crown is falling off, I am supporting a local charity. In fact, one of my favorite thrift shops to shop at here is called Angels of Hope. And they help employ young people who have never had a job before, and they teach them about what it's like to have a job, which is kind of cool. To Maria with Love and Laughter from Anne Rose, and For Kathleen from Paul Galdone. And again, if you want to get a copy of this book, I'm sure you can find it online at like Amazon or Barnes and Noble or something like that. It's an old book, but you can also find it maybe in a thrift shop. But more likely, if you go to your local bookstore and request a copy of it, I bet that they can order one for you somewhere. You might also be able to find it on like eBay or Etsy or something like that. This book was copyrighted in 1979 by Anne Rose and illustrated by Paul Galdone. And let me see if I can find who the publishers are. That's always nice to know. Parents Magazine Press in New York City. Back then, when strange things still happened, a little old woman lived in a little old house deep in the woods. Back then, when strange things happened. Like today, strange things don't happen. One day she went to cook some soup into a big pot of water. She threw beans and bones and onions and carrots and salt. I like to cook soup. Do you like to cook soup? You see the picture of the old lady cooking soup? While she was stirring the soup, a turnip spoke up. Don't throw me into that boiling water. Leave me alone. You see the turnip on the chopping block there next to the cat and the dog? Who said that? The woman asked, looking at her dog. That wasn't the dog talking, the cat said. It was the turnip. Let it be. The woman was amazed. Her cat had never spoken before. Now the turnip and the cat both talked back to her. She grabbed her cooking spoon to whack the cat. Put me down, said the spoon. What? Cried the old woman as she dropped the spoon on the floor. Pick up that spoon, the floor said. The woman was frightened. She ran out of the house to tell the king. What would you do if your turnip, your cat, your spoon, and your floor all started talking to you? Those are some strange things indeed. On the road, she met a woodchopper with an axe over his shoulder. And it says, from the king to the king on the signs here. From the king to the king. And there she is. And she's talking to a woodchopper with an axe on his shoulder. What's your hurry? Asked the woodchopper. The old woman answered, while I was stirring my soup, the turnip said to leave it alone. I asked my dog about it, but my cat said, let it be. When I whacked at her with my cooking spoon, the spoon said, put me down. And when the spoon dropped on the floor said, pick up that spoon. And so I ran. There she is talking to the woodchopper, woodsman. Is that all? Asked the woodchopper. Did she pick it up? Said the axe. The woodchopper was amazed. What? He hollered as he flung his axe down, and he ran off with the old woman to tell the king. Around the corner they met a boy taking 2 geese to market. What's your hurry? Asked the boy. While I was stirring my soup, my turnip said to leave it alone, the woman explained. Then my cat said to let the turnip be, and my cooking spoon said put me down, and the floor said pick up that spoon. And then my axe said, did she pick it up? The wood chopper added. Is that all? Asked the boy. Is that why you're both running? Is that what happened to you? You'd run too. Or if that happened to you, you'd run too, his geese said. The boy was amazed. What? He shouted, and he let the geese fly. The boy ran off with the wood chopper and the old woman to tell the king. The woman, the wood chopper, and the boy came to the castle on the hill. The king sat on his throne, listening to his people's troubles. At last, it was their turn to speak. I went to cook some soup, the old woman began, and everything started to talk to me. My turnip said to leave it alone. Then my cat said to let that turnip be. When I whacked at her with my cooking spoon, the spoon said, put me down. And when the spoon fell on the floor said, pick up that spoon. And then my axe said, did she pick it up? The wood chopper added. And then my geese said to me, if that happened to you, you'd run too, the boy said. Now that is really an unbelievable story, the king said. You'd all better get back to work before I punish you for taking up my time with such lies. The old woman, the wood chopper, and the boy all marched out. What do you think's going to happen, guys? But the king sat, lost in thought. He'd bent under his splendid head bent under his splendid crown. What nonsense, making up tales of things talking back to people, he said. Foolish troublemakers. Troublemakers indeed. Who ever heard of a talking turnip? Said the king's crown. And that is the end of that story. About the author, Anne Rose was born in Antwerp, Belgium, and came to this country as a teenager. In addition to being an art gallery owner and an artist representative, she has written several books for children and young adults, including the award-winning Refugee. Anne Rose lives with her husband and 4 children in Rowayton, Connecticut. The Talking Turnip is her first book for Parents Magazine Press. And about the artist, twice runner-up for the Caldecott Medal, Paul Galdone has illustrated over 275 picture books. That's a lot of books, including several which he wrote as well. Born in Budapest, he came to New York City when he was 14 and studied painting under Guy Pienne de Bois and Louis Boucher and George Grosz. He and his wife divide their time between their homes in New York City, New York, and Tunbridge, Vermont. The Talking Turnip follows the Hungry Fox and the Foxy Duck as Paul Galdone's second book for Parents Magazine Press. And that is The Talking Turnip. And I really like this story. I think it's hilarious. It doesn't really teach any lessons other than maybe don't try to hit your cat with a wooden spoon, because I don't think the cat or the spoon would have appreciated that. But what a funny book, The Talking Turnip. I hope you've enjoyed Vegetable Day, because we read Cabbage Rose and now The Talking Turnip. All right. I hope you guys have a lovely day. Bye.